Good evening and welcome. Everybody can hear me okay? Welcome to our Fireside chat this evening. We thank you for coming out, and we thank all who have participated throughout the day, the workshop, as well as having the various conversations in NAACP. This evening we will continue the discussion with Kevin Richardson. This evening, for those who are joining us for the first time, I will give you a brief bio. Kevin D. Richardson is the face of justice. His journey from outcast to hero is nothing short of remarkable. In 1989, at 14 years old, Kevin and 4 other Black and Latino teenagers from Harlem were convicted for the assault of a white female jogger in Central Park. The Central Park Five, as they became known, were coerced by police investigators to making false statements about their involvement in the attack and served sentences ranging from 7 to 13 years. In 2002, all convictions against the teens were overturned. Kevin's courage, perseverance, and resilience shine through every chapter of his life. As a member of the Exonerated Central Park Five, his ability to maintain his innocence amidst wrongful accusations and a flawed justice system is a testament to his strength. Over the years, Kevin has turned his painful experience into a powerful force for positive change. His advocacy against racial profiling, discrimination, and inequality, especially in the juvenile justice system, has made him a key voice in conversations about reform. Humbled by his dedication to social change, Kevin has received an honorary bachelor's degree from Syracuse University, College of Visual and Performing Arts, becoming the first ever in the school's 150 years to be honored in that way. In 2023, Richardson founded the Kevin Richardson Foundation, LLC. The foundation is a public good company providing awareness and resources to underserved youth in academic institutions seeking knowledge on how to process diverse messaging and racism in society. This evening, joining Mr. Richardson will be Ryan Nicholson as the moderator. Let's welcome him.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, cool, great, sounds great. So, first, Kevin, I want to get into talk about your early childhood and your life prior to the situation. So, first, I want to ask you, before the entire situation occurred, who was Kevin Richardson as a young teenager, and what were your aspirations?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Kevin Richardson, growing up in New York City, the youngest of 5, the only son of 5 strong women in my household. My dreams was just to play music. I was an aspiring trumpet player. I played sports. And at that age, we were just rich in culture, rich in family. We didn't have much at that time, but we made the best of it. But I was just a young kid that was scratching the surface of life, trying to figure things out at 14, and just living, As we will dial into it, that was robbed from me, but I was just a young kid that just wanted to learn and wanted to, enjoy life.
Yeah, no, that's great. At the age of 14, what was your understanding of the system, and did you feel the system was meant to protect you?
At 14, I really didn't know much about the system. At adults, sometimes we don't know much about the system. So at 14, my worries was just trying to adapt to life, being a kid, what show to watch on TV, what girl I had a crush on, just innocent things. But I really didn't know about the system, even though I seen that in my community. I seen stop and frisk before it was labeled that. But it was normal, seeing people getting apprehended. But never in my wildest dream I thought that would happen to me. And when I seen in the police calls in New York City, it said CPR on it, courtesy, professionalism, respect. I thought we was covered, we were good. That wasn't the case. And I learned that the hard way.
Thank you for that. Now, within those earlier moments, or any of your earlier moments in your life, was there anything that prepared you for what was next?
Nothing prepared me for that, because I never thought that was a blind side of what happened to me. Because just imagine you being just a kid enjoying vacation.
Yeah.
And it was Easter vacation, April 19th, 1989. I was happy just being away from school for a couple of days. It was a Wednesday night. And that turned into a tragedy. So I never thought that would happen to me. And I literally left my home where my mom was there. I didn't realize I wouldn't see her for a while.
So, next up, to what extent do you think society underestimates or dismisses the humanity of Black boys and men?
Too much. Sometimes us as young Black males are misunderstood, and sometimes that we might be voicing ourselves maybe in a different way, and they think that it might be aggressively. But sometimes people adapt to their environment like that. And I've noticed that kids sometimes with aggression, it's just the way that they formalize things. They don't mean any harm, but it might be their upbringing. Because one thing that people often take away in the New York State system, they take away your mind, which is the most powerful tool. And that's what happened to a lot of kids, even when I grew up at. They didn't have any forms of education or no way to move around. And that's when sometimes we're stuck. And I'm talking about we, because I'm including myself at the time, that I didn't have any knowledge of my surroundings. I was very curious, but I didn't know that. And when I say they, I'm talking specifically about New York, but it's everywhere. They didn't like us. And that was blatant.
Gotcha. So next we're going to start talking about the arrest and the interrogation. Can you describe the moment you realized you had little to no control over what was going on?
Time that happened, it was a Wednesday night. Still naive, not understanding the importance of what was happening. The only thing I was guilty of was breaking my curfew. I was upset and scared of that because my mother is from Virginia, actually. She's from the South, so I'm a New Yorker with Southern roots. And that night I was just trying to get home. I never reached that. When I realized, after I was apprehended by a police officer, he hit me in the face with a police helmet. And I'm going to utter these words out, everyone, because I'm very authentic about what I say. It was a cop that screamed, "Stop, you little nigga." And even though I've seen things happen in my community, that never happened to me per se. So I was scared. And I remember being knocked unconscious. And if you see When They See Us, everyone, in the first episode, it's a little teaser, that's what happens to me. When I awakened from that, I was in a police car. 36 hours later, I'm still being interrogated without parental guidance. So during that time, it was a blur of things happening. It was so many rights that was violated. One, that I was adolescent, I was underage, I was 14 years old. Secondly, there was no parental guidance there. Third, police officers can actually lie to you to get a statement, and it's legal. And it's called these tactics that they do to trick you. God bless you. To trick you and to get you to say things. So from Wednesday, April 19th to the 22nd, it was a blur because I went to 3 different police stations, interrogated, questioned, videotaped, all in the span of 3 days.
I'm sorry about that. From during the interrogations and being transported and so forth, what was the most confusing or the most frightening?
The most frightening. Unfortunately, there were many things that was the most frightening, right? The most frightening for me was thinking that I will never come out of prison again. The most frightening that here I was, a young black individual in New York City, where in the 80s, there was such a media frenzy and a racial tone that it felt, and my mother would say this, that when I was taken away from the streets, it felt like the KKK again. Instead of being dragged from your houses, I was dragged from my house into a prison, which was called like a modern day slavery. So those things that was happening to me, and I thought that I never will even get to be 16 years old. I would never ask this girl I had a crush on to the prom. In New York State, I would never go to what they call the bodega in New York City, where you go ask for a sandwich. Just the smallest things in life, I felt like that would never happen because it was so much of a threat to our lives, how people felt about us without even knowing us, you know. So that was something, a hard pill to swallow at 14. I want to keep stressing that. And I keep looking at this young man that, how old are you?
11.
That's what, pains me. So I was 14, going through that.
And from this experience, did you have a sense of, did you fear or have any uncertainty about during the legal proceedings? Did this change your view on authority?
Definitely. Because there once was a time when we interacted with police officers, even though I've seen it in my community about people being apprehended and things happening. But to me, I thought cops was there to protect you and protect the community. And not all police officers were that way. I have friends right now that's police officers. But I thought that they were there to protect us. I even played in organizations for the police, the PAL in New York. So when this happened to me, I was totally thrown off that this happened to me, first of all. And it was something I had to deal with. And it was hard to swallow that, and hard to process that at such a young age.
And you had mentioned the coerced confessions and, you're in a very vulnerable state. What do you wish people understood about the coerced confessions in general and being vulnerable in a moment like that, especially with children?
That it can happen to children. It happens to everyone, but to know that there's children being taken advantage of, and they're taking advantage of your mind and doing these games where it's called good cop, bad cop. Where you have a cop that's there in your corner and they're telling you, you're a great kid, you're a good guy. And there's another cop that's saying, I don't want to get too vulgar because there's kids here, but you know you did that to the woman, I would say. And it's intensifying. And I'm in the position where I just want to go home. It's over 3 days. The only thing I have is water, things of that nature. So now I'm listening to the police officers and listening to things they're feeding me and trying to make it out of a statement, which didn't even make sense when you look at it in hindsight. And that's when I go back to, this wasn't for me. And being in that situation, I'm not supposed to be here. But here I am. Here I am stuck. Here I am in this place where it was a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. And that was hard to actually try to go through that at the same time being a kid. When I look in the outside world, there were people with newspapers and television shows and everything talking about our life and our livelihood. You know, talking about who we are and calling us every animal in the animal kingdom except a human. And that's what something that we had to go through.
Mm-hmm. So I want to touch next on the trial and the conviction. What did it feel like to hear the guilty verdict when you knew you were innocent?
You know, I became seasoned at this speaking, but it was hard to even express this, everyone. I, of the five, was the only one that received 13 counts of guilty. After the first two guilty counts, I actually passed out. And I couldn't even remember. All I heard was guilty, guilty. And I was on the second trial. We had two trials. 3 of the individuals was in the first trial. And the way that they did this, that our statements will match each other to try to convict us. So they used 4 statements in a trial that wouldn't even happen. In my trial, myself and Corey Wise was in the same trial. He was older than me. He was 16. He was considered an adult. Because he was an adult, he received the most prison time. He did 13 and a half years out of 15. Because I was an adolescent, I received 7 years. I did 7 out of 10 years. And when I first heard the guilty, it was sodomy, rape, assault, unlawful entry, everything you could think of, attempted murder. And they were just throwing these things at me like it was just a game. But this was my life that we were dealing with. So I remember just being in a court and looking back, and I remember my mother, this was not depicted in when they see us, but my mother actually caught a mild heart attack in the courtroom. And I thought that would be the last time I see her.
During this, was there any time you felt like you lost hope or you gained hope?
My mother always told me, keep your head up high. I remember going through this whole process. Ironically, my mother's name is Grace. And with the grace of God, I stayed with it. But it was a little snippet that I thought, is this how my life will play out? Being in prison for something I did not do. But I always kept the faith in me, but it was hard throughout time. Because sometimes, actually, I lost my faith. Because I couldn't understand why it happened to me. So I would give up a little glimmer of hope sometimes. But I knew, and this is cliche, but I always say it, that there was indeed a light at the end of the tunnel. And being stuck in those prison cells, I started to see a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of light every day. And I had to step into the light and not stay in the darkness, because that would swallow you whole. Being in a situation where, in the prison system, it's inhumane conditions. It's not meant to fit humans, that you go through. You're caged in, you're treated like you're animals. And that still goes on to this day. It's just that my case was highlighted, and we were the ones that was, in the sense of a word, sacrificial lambs, to show people that you can come out of it. And sometimes you have to go through things, and we were the scapegoats of that. And it's, quite honestly, it's a miracle that I'm here.
And you know, to what degree did your personal identity change?
Well, I was always positive for myself and knew and felt good about myself. But what changed was my mind. I became more aware of things. I was always smart. I was always at the inside the classroom. I was the kid in the back of the class, by the way, that didn't want to be picked. But when they did, I stepped up to the question. So I was an introvert. So it was ironic that now I'm so much of an extrovert and I speak in front of people. And my occupation and passion is a motivational speaker. Nobody would have thought shy Kevin would do this. But sometimes God puts you in certain places because he believes in you, so I always had hope. And I always knew that my identity would change as time goes on. When I learned to study more, when I was in prison, I didn't let the prison take control of me. I got my education while I was in prison. I got a degree right before, in 1995, Governor Pataki took the education away from New York State prisons. So I was able to attain my degree in prison. Then I was able to go on further and study in a law library and connect with the Innocence Project, which is a nonprofit organization that helps people that's wrongfully convicted. So things happen in a full circle.
Yeah. And during this time, did you develop any coping mechanisms, whether it was good or bad?
Yeah, I had to learn how to cope with being in the system. I had to learn how to adapt to that system, to prison life, each and every day. And as time went on, I started to see myself grow and become older. I seen my niece literally grow up in front of me in prison. Every year her birthday will go by. I see her to take her first steps while I was in the visiting room, and I knew that I'm still here. I was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally. I was able to get out of that situation, but it can chew you up whole, and I had to learn how to navigate that. And I had to do it. My family, it's a saying that when you're in prison, your family do the prison sentence with you. I was there to do it physically, but it was my family that was there each and every day coming to visit me. And I mentioned this earlier to someone, that we just recently had the blizzard of 2026. Some of you that of age, it was a thing called the blizzard of 1996. And my mom still tried to visit me through a blizzard. And there's just mother's love, I remember telling her that I'm okay. God got me, and I was able to come out of that. Not unscathed, everyone, because we have these indelible scars that only myself and my brothers know about. So we didn't come out unscathed, but we came out alive, literally.
I want to touch on brotherhood. How did the role of brotherhood and faith and inner dialogue play into your resilience?
Great question. So brotherhood, I'm very proud of that because myself and which are now my brothers, we didn't know of each other actually. They thought we were some type of gang, but we didn't know each other. We was aware of each other, we seen each other in the streets. But this brotherhood is something that we had together and only we went through it and understood it. And as time went on, the years went on, we became even stronger with that bond. The brotherhood is something that you can't deny. It's authentic. And being here, I recognize the brotherhood in this place. And I recognize the sisters too. But I know, it's school of males, and I got excited about that, to speak directly to brothers, that you are me, I am you. So I think brotherhood is significant, and it played a big part of us healing together. And not only did we go through this, we grew through this, and we still here to raise awareness about it and to be from a lived experience. People telling me, I'm only 51, I'm still living, but people come and tell me that you're a legend, you're a living legend, you're an icon. Those are big words. But I humbly accept that because I am my ancestors' wildest dreams to continue it.
Gotcha. You had mentioned trauma. To what extent does trauma live in the body, not just a memory?
Trauma, everyone. Mental health is a real thing. PTSD is a real thing. I do suffer from that. You wouldn't think that though, because I keep myself together, well put together, but it was a journey. Going through that. But me speaking to you all and traveling, it's therapeutic. I didn't receive these type of situations in prison. It was self-taught, learning how to go through the process and healing. So I think my mental is good, but I have days where it's not. I am human. Not to put my wife on the spot, which is here, but she witnesses that every day. Sometimes I do suffer from that. Sometimes I still do have pictures of me being interrogated. And we're talking about almost 36 years ago. But it doesn't go away. But me speaking and keep letting these feelings out to everyone, I became seasoned at it. And I always use this analogy that imagine you have, especially to the young kids, you have a can of soda and you keep it in your room every day. Every day you shake it, leave it there, you keep shaking it, and then one day you decide to let it out. That was my emotions oozing out of the can, finally released. It was a mess everywhere, but I was able to breathe again and get that out. And that was a feeling that was a huge thing that came off my back.
That's beautiful. Now, describe what it felt like to be released. What was your first emotion?
Hello, everyone. I was released. I'm good with numbers, by the way. Hidden figures. Hey, kids. Ask your parents about it. I was released June 24th, 1997, approximately 6 a.m. When I came out of prison, just coming out of the prison gates felt so different. When I was in prison, we had recreation every day in the yard, but there was a difference. And when I came out of prison, I remember literally kissing the ground that I got out of there. Sadly, I didn't know how to adjust to my environment. in New York at the time, there was a thing called tokens that we used in the MTA. I didn't know how to even use a token. It was sad because now I was at the age of 22, going on 23. I didn't know how to count money that great. I knew how to count, but just holding money for the first time. It was things, the simplest things that we take advantage of that we don't think about. I had to adjust to that. I had to go back to my community where the majority loved me, but there were some that even talked about me. It was some that I was very in disbelief that they didn't believe us. So I had to adjust to all of that. Coming home, dealing with paparazzi for all the wrong reasons. Where reporters was hiding in the bushes to take pictures of me to get that shot. And it was a shame because the shot they always got was the shot that you looked the meanest. Or angry, or just tired. And they used that and they put that in the newspapers. Then they depict a picture of you being an angry black man. You know, just angry at the world. You know, so I had to deal with that with people that was not so warmly. And there were people that was in my corner from the beginning. But I had to adjust to life again. On top of that, everyone, I came home as a registered sex offender. And I was registered as a level 3 sex offender, which is the worst of the worst. And there was a law called Megan's Law. And I will let you Google it and search it. It was about a young woman that was attacked, and they named it after her. We were on level 3, which is like serial rapists, basically. And I had to, every week, go to the probation or parole officer and state that, hello, my name is Kevin Richardson. They asked me, are there any kids in your area? And things like that. So it was so, demoralizing to go through that.
How did you learn to navigate the world after being isolated from it?
That's good. It's a good question. After being isolated so long, and now I'm thrown out into the world again, into the abyss of society. I'm so grateful that my family was there for me. My mother, my sisters, surrounding me, coming out of prison and just navigating through life, trying to find jobs. It was my family that was there. But here I was 23 years old, but I still felt like a child. Because I didn't get through that part of where a normal 16, 17, 18 respectively would experience that I didn't. So I had to start from scratch, through life. And life is not fair, quite honestly. But I had to channel all of that to feel great and make it positive, and it was hard, but I did it.
Did freedom feel overwhelming after being released?
Yeah, you would think freedom is great, and it is, by the way. That's not, But it was overwhelming because I wasn't just Kevin Richardson from Harlem, New York. I was Kevin Richardson, the Central Park Five. And it was already a stigma of me, false, that we were out of prison and people still thought somehow, in some way, shape, or form, that we were guilty still. And I had to go through that. And I remember, even before I went into prison, I went to school, in high school, and I lasted 30 days, and I couldn't take it. Because imagine being at this age, I was 15, I think, going to school and I would see kids, hey, Kevin, how you doing? But in the back, I could hear them saying, do not talk to him. He's a rapist. Do not associate yourself with him. So that was hard, and I had to actually do some homeschool because I couldn't even go to school. So even though I was out, sometimes I still felt isolated because I couldn't do anything.
And what, if any, did any parts of prison follow you home?
Yeah, we have, to this day, honestly, when I'm in a restaurant, I have to sit my back against the wall. Like right now, I can't sit there. Like if I can't face you, I have to be here. And there was just mechanisms that I had to learn that I'm still like that. I feel more comfort to see everything and analyze the room. I've been doing that since I was young. I analyze the room. I could tell what this person has on right here. I could tell. I'm looking at everyone's eyes right now. I'm engaging, and I have a mental picture of it. So that's something that I learned. It could be good or bad. Another thing that I did when I came home, exercise is good, but I would exercise, and then after that I would go to my room because I was so used to locking in after that. And I remember my mom saying, "You home, baby?" With the Virginia voice, "You're home, baby." And things like that. So it took a while to adapt to that.
And how are you moving past the years that were stolen from you, but still building for a future?
Repeat that one time, sorry.
How are you moving past the years that were stolen from you while still building a future?
Yeah. You have to move past those years. You can forgive, but you can never forget. So I've learned how to move on, but that pain that I had made me turn that pain into purpose. And me doing this has helped me, uplift myself and not become bitter. And people often ask me, "Are you bitter?" Surprisingly, I say no. Like, what? I didn't say I wasn't angry. But that anger would not take you anywhere, everyone. I had to learn how to channel that anger. And being young and an adolescent and even a young man, I had to channel that aggression that I spoke of and learn how to challenge that and change it to positivity. Because I didn't want to grow old to be an angry, old, bitter man in the street that say, "Hey, get away from me, kid." I wanted to be a guy that do something about it. And I strongly believe that bitterness will take you to the grave faster. And I, for one, wants to live. I, for one, believe that I'm living in my next chapter right now. I believe at 51 that I'm just scratching the surface of life again. Amen. And it's a beautiful thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, when you found out that you all were being exonerated, what did that feel like? What was your reaction and the reaction of your family, friends, neighbors, etc.?
I'm good with dates. December 19th, 2002. The word exonerates. To be free, to be set free of not just prison, but of circumstances, of different things. You're exonerated from that. You're free from that. Even though I was exonerated, I felt free-ish. Because I was exonerated, but my surroundings were still the same. People were still being apprehended, convicted, wrongfully convicted, things of that nature. But it felt great from the aspect of my family. And all we was telling people that we were innocent. And at the time, we were screaming we were innocent. But our roars was whispers to the world. We felt like no one was listening. So that was a great thing to say. Yes, we told y'all. We were screaming that from day one. So that felt good for not just myself, but for my mother to still be alive to witness that. For my father at the time to still be alive. I lost my father in 2009 to cancer. But at the time to be there, to feel vindicated, that we told the world that we were innocent, and we had people that backed us up, and to have a strong support system of people, of attorneys, of strong political figures. It felt great for that, just to be able to kind of shove it in their face, respectfully. So it felt good on that level to feel exonerated.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now I want to talk about healing and what your healing process has looked like for you over the course of the past couple of years.
Healing. Still healing. I'm still healing. And it's a process. It's not a sprint, it's a race. And the healing process is me doing what I'm doing now, becoming a motivational speaker, becoming, an advocate for the criminal, justice reform. To be an advocate just for human rights in general. To carry that platform, it feels good, healing that. For my kids, to see that they look up to me as a hero. I have two daughters. A 17-year-old, teenager, and an 8-year-old, two girls. So just to see them, to see me, doing what I'm doing, and my wife, that's my backbone, to be there in my corner. So I'm still healing. And I bleed just like everyone else. I'm just put in this position, which I appreciated. I'm not a celebrity, but I will use my celebrity to raise awareness, to shed that platform for others. I've been blessed to rub shoulders with some pretty big people that influenced my life. And it's amazing when I see them, when they see us, we'll get to that too. They're in awe of me. And I'll tell a quick story, and my wife knows this, and she says this is my girlfriend. When Angela Bassett came to me, I met her a few times, but she was like, she came to me, like, out of the five. They just like, my face, like a big teddy bear or something. But she said, God bless you, I'm proud of you, Kevin. I'm like, she knows my name, So it was just beautiful, like, your peers that you look up to, things like that. So I don't take that for granted, because now I'm in a position to do that for others. When I met a young individual, probably was 10 years old, just like this young man, which is 11, and he told me, Mr. Richardson, you are iconic. I said, young man, thank you. That's pretty big to say. And he said, like, you're our, modern day, hero right here. And I never forgot that. To go further, to go deeper, it was a movie called Roots. And the person who played in Roots gave us a message and said, I'm proud of you because it's like the modern day representation of Roots, of what they've been through. That is gigantic and colossal to say. So I don't take that for granted, everyone. And that feeds me to keep doing what I'm doing. And whenever I feel that I'm enlightening someone, I know I'm going in the right direction. And I am, just walking God's path. And I'm a vessel of Him. And where He go, I will follow.
Love that. Now, how do you define resilience?
Resilience. So, everyone, for some that was there, I wish you were, but I recently had a workshop. It was a great turnout. It was called, ironically, CPR Workshop, which stands for courage, perseverance, and resilience. And those are 3 words that I go by. So in my case, I had to have the courage to just withstand everything that was stacked up against us. And through all of that, navigating that through life, I was able to persevere through that. But not only that, show the resiliency to keep going. So I take resilience as someone or anyone, strong, keep going, and stay strong and confident in what you're doing. And I often say this to people that you see me here, but everyone doesn't have to be an activist to be active. You find your lane, and you find that you master what you're good at. And then we bring all that to the table, and then we all can have a seat at the table. And once we get there, we can break bread and really get down to the situations that we're dealing with in society.
Love that. Were there any moments where you felt anger felt necessary rather than pushing it away or pushing it to the side?
Anytime I felt anger?
Yeah.
Plenty. Plenty of times I felt anger, and then I would look at my kids, look at my daughters, and know that I can't fail them. But then again, everyone, I am human. I make mistakes still. Everyone does. But what do you do to correct those mistakes? How do you change that so it won't happen again? So we're dealing in a climate where there's so many things happening in America. I'm extremely angry. If you get my drift, everyone. But what do we do to change that dynamic? What do we do to play our part to make sure this doesn't happen? So I'm playing my part. Like I said, everyone don't have to be an activist. But we need to go back to, years ago where people used to write letters. Yeah, remember that? Write letters. Talk to your officials, government officials, things like that. Be heard. Use your voice. Be the voice for the voiceless. There's so many people that don't have that. So I'm just hoping I'm doing my part.
And when did you realize that your story could help other people?
So I've been speaking as a speaker since roughly 2012. But at the time, I was just getting the gist of it. Over the last, quite honestly, when They See Us came out on Netflix, it took myself and my brothers to a whole nother stratosphere, that we realized that it's powerful, that it's resonating not just in America, but globally, where I had people responding to me and writing to us and sending us messages in different languages I didn't understand. And I had to press translate. All over the world, but I knew that it was nice because I seen hearts and things of that nature. And people are saying that because of you, I'm practicing law. Because of you, I'm a prosecutor, but I'm doing the right thing to make sure it doesn't change. Because of you, I'm a judge, and things like that. So I realized that it's bigger than us. Other than when I'm not speaking, I'm just an average Joe. I'm a regular guy. People see me in Walmart. They ask me, "What are you doing here?" I'm shopping. My wife sent me with a list. Just like every, eggs, bread, things like that. So, but I love it though. It doesn't get old when I see people and they just, I'm very approachable, as people seen over these last 2 days, that I'm just a guy that really wants to make a stand, so it feels great.
Love that. What advice do you give people who underwent a similar situation to yours or something of that nature? What advice do you give them?
one thing I would say is, this too shall pass. And those words was passed to me from my grandmother, which was raised in Norfolk, Virginia. This too shall pass, son. And that's passed from my mother to me, and I say that to my kids. This too shall pass. Even we're dealing with times that's very hard. Governments, in office, this too shall pass. And things get dark sometimes, but when there's dark, there's light. And eventually, you will come out of it. Of course, it's easier said than done. Of course, I know I did it, but not everyone is built that way. But keep striving for your goals. Keep believing in what you believe in. And even to the young people that's here today, be proud of who you are. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do, because when they say no, that really means yes. They really mean you can do it. Trust me, I never thought I would be in this position, but now that I'm here, it's go time. And because of my situation, not only did they wake me up, they woke up 5 sleeping giants, which is myself and my brothers. And now we're causing good trouble. And that's what I advise you all to just believe in what you believe in, everyone. Because when I speak, I'm so authentic what I say, and there's nothing that's practice or nothing like that. It just really comes from the heart, and the heart speaks to the mouth, and then it creates beautiful music to you all. And that's something I'll do.
Thank you for that. Do you feel that survivors hold any responsibility to carry educating people about injustices and so forth?
Repeat that one more time.
Yeah. What responsibility, if any, do you feel survivors of injustice carry in educating the world?
I think it's necessary to educate, and people that's definitely been in positions like myself or survived from wrong things that happened to them. And I believe strongly that each one teach one. Whatever you learn from one person, you pass it to the next. It's like paying it forward, And I believe that it's definitely hard to be a survivor of things, but it feels great to be here literally to speak about it, to speak into existence. There once was a time that I really didn't want to say anything to anybody. But it was 2 of my brothers, Yusuf Salam and Raymond Santana, that was out on the circuit in media, and they said, it's okay. It's okay now. It's okay to come out and show your face. It's to come out and people see you. And the title, When They See Us, is when they see us as individuals, what do you see? What is your perception of us? When they see us is when you see a person of color. What is your first thing you think? When they saw me, they didn't know that I was a kid that was raised by 5 beautiful women in the household and would never touch a woman in that way. But they didn't know that I was into music. I was into sports. They didn't know one day I would be in front of you today, shedding light on everyone. So for all survivors that's out there in different formats, it's okay. It's okay to come out and share your story. It's okay to come out to say, me too. It's okay to say, I believe that we can change this. And I always say that I'm optimistic, but I'm also a realist. And know that we have a long way to go, everyone. But we have to start from somewhere. We have to plant that seed. And we all need each other. And I'm great to see this room that is diverse, is different people here, because we need each other. Of course, what I've been through, yes, it was for individuals of color, yes. But we need everyone to come together collectively to make a change. And I think once we understand each other, and that we will, but we have to start from somewhere.
That's great. What you just said leads into my next question. What has injustice taught you about humanity, both at its worst and at its best?
Let's go with the worst first. It taught me that when you're down, you could get back up. And we were down to the count, everyone. I'm talking about we as Central Park Five, our families, the way that we was characterized. You know, it wasn't the content of my character. It was because of the color of my skin, honestly. But we was able to come out of that. And for the great part of it is that people make mistakes. It's how you own up to the mistake. And it's about accountability. There were some people that still wasn't held accountable of what happened to us, from statute of limitation, things of that nature. But I wonder how it feels for them to sleep at night when you have that guilty conscience. That knowing that you wrongfully imprisoned the wrong kids. And because of that, the real assailant went on into these kids here, so in a better sense of the word, go on and commit more crimes against women, I would say. God bless you. Against women and things of that nature. So that's it in a whole.
Gotcha. And what does justice look like? For you now, and how would you define justice?
Still waiting for justice. And sometimes when you talk about justice, for a long time, it was just us as people that was being wrongfully convicted. So that's why I'm so, passionate about what I do, But justice can be good if we do it the right way. Like I said, people's held accountable for what they did. Be an adult about what you did. Right now, we don't ask for apologies because we will only believe that it would be for political gain. And we don't need that. We're good over here. But if people accept that, then I think we'll be better on in life. And so it's still a little bit optimistic in me, but we'll see.
Gotcha. And if you could speak to your younger self,
Ooh, I like this.
what would you say?
I would say, Kevin, young man, you're going to go through something in life. And it's going to test your integrity. It's going to test your faith. It's going to test to see that you can come out of the situation, like I said, not unscathed, but out of it. You're going to face challenges in life. But, young man, this too shall pass. You're going to go through this phase where people are going to have a perception of you and call you names and call your family names. But you will get through this. And when you finally reach to that highest level, then you will enjoy the fruits of your labor. But right now, when you get to that point, you're not done. And like I said, I appreciate all the accolades and the things of this nature and all the prestigious awards I have in my household and things of that nature, but I'm not done. I'll probably be reflecting on it when I'm older, with the grace of God that I'm here, which I know I don't plan on going anywhere, but then I will reflect on that. And for my kids to see that, look at daddy, that he's doing this. You know, he's a great individual. And everything that happened to him, the way things was looked at him, and he threw things at him, the way that he took lemons and made lemonade out of it, because now life is sweet. And it's sweet because I have my family, my kids, I have people that love and support me, which they did from day one, but now it's even in another level. And I appreciate it so much. And it's, you know, sincerely, I appreciate it because it gave me that motivation to do what I'm doing now. Like, I'm so thankful for everyone that even came out here today in the rain. I'm grateful that I was able to make it out here to visit you all. I never heard of Hampden-Sydney before. And it was ironically because my family's from Virginia, but I've never been to this part. So I'm glad I came here to touch others and teach others and raise awareness to others that probably wouldn't even be in the situation I was. And to you all that's in school right now and that's practicing and things like that, take advantage of the opportunity that you have because it's golden. For the people that's coming up, you know, to this young man right here. What's your name, by the way?
Lamar.
Don't mean to put you on the spot. Lamar, yeah. Keep going for your dreams, man. Keep pushing, because we need more people like yourself, you know. And let's make a change. But I wish by the time you're older, these young ladies right here, by the time you're older, that we will see a change. And maybe we'll see the first president, women president, and things like that. So these still things that I'm looking forward to and I'm optimistic about.
That's beautiful. Now, this is one of my last questions for you.
Oh, man.
How do you want your story to be remembered? Not as a tragedy, of course, but as a testament.
To be remembered as Kevin Richardson, that could have been a distant memory if the criminal unjust system had their way. I could have been a memory that they'll say, remember that Central Park 5 case? Right, those kids that was electrocuted, but we kind of found out they were innocent. So to be here, I want to be remembered that I gave my all. And not just for recognition, you know, not for they say, you know, in the media world, trying to get recognized for something that I'm playing like perception, but just who I am, authentic. You know, I just want to be recognized as there was a person that been through so much, but when he sees us all, he's still smiling. How is that? A person that steps and sees everybody and speaks to everyone individually and will take the time to do so. You know, I was in my last speaking engagement last week, and I was in Canada. And we did this speaking engagement that lasted an hour. I took another hour and a half to speak to every single person that was there, because when I turned around, it was a line. People thought it was a concert. Like they was coming to see Usher or something at the concert. But it was just me, Kevin Richardson. But it was beautiful, and like that recognition of people, and they stood there and signed their papers and things like that. So I just want to be remembered as a person that wore many hats, but the first hat he wanted to be recognized as a human and respected.
Love that. Now, this is the last question.
You sure? I don't mind, everyone. That's what I'm here for. Yeah.
Well, at least last question on my end. What does it mean for you? What does it mean to you to choose life and hope after the world tried to take them away from you?
I like that. I never heard that. To choose life and hope. Because life is great. And I want to be living. And one thing that overrides hate, or should I say one thing that trumps hate? One thing that trumps hate is love. It's love. Love overrides that, so I have hope and love that it keeps my circle and the world revolving around that. There was a lot of hatred towards us. It's one thing that stood out to me specifically when I was young, and there were a few papers about us that they said 4 of the gentlemen, which was the Central Park 5, should be horsewhipped in Central Park, while the elders, Corey Wise, should be hung from a tree. And that was the rhetoric that was being spewed out at the time. It was a mentality that people really wanted us dead, without even knowing who we were. Fast forward to now, all I'm about is love, about over that hate. When I learned that you had to channel the hate, because I easily could have been angry and just things like that. But I'm happy that there are others that's angry for me. And now we're living in a society that you could use your anger in different ways. From your mental. People protest, which is good, but you protest for the right reasons and things like that. So at the end, love and hope is what we need. Love and happiness, and it will make you live longer. In my heart, I still feel young. And sometimes I wake up and I realize I'm 51. But I think I look okay. I think I feel okay, so. But on a serious note, love really does override hate. And we have more of that in society, and I think you will see a change in things. And we need to bring that back to when I was a kid, when I came outside in the 70s and played outside with no worries. Playing games in New York City, in the street, and things like that. Being back home before the lights went out. That's old stuff. But like in generally, I'm just happy that I have love in me to give. I have love in me to share with everyone. I love you all, even if I don't know you. But I love you all because it overrides hate.
Thank you for that, and thank you for coming to Hampden-Sydney for these past 2 days. We've enjoyed having you and so forth. Thank you for your words of wisdom, your insight, and your motivational speech.
Yes, yes.
And on behalf of everybody, I think we say thank you. So we will be opening up for a Q&A now. So if any of you have questions, raise your hand.
Yeah.
We're going to go this way and go around. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, first of all, sir, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your vulnerability, sharing your story, and the honesty with which you spoke was very moving today. So my name is Tyler. I work here at the college, but I'm also a graduate. And it means so much to me as a former brother of MSU, as a black member of this community, and as someone that calls this place home, that you came and spoke with us this evening. So thank you.
Thank you.
You, early in your speech tonight, you were speaking about losing faith and losing hope. And then you spoke about refining it. And we didn't get to dive into like what that looks like. And the reason that I'm asking is you said I lost it and I found it. And then later you said, I realized I am where I'm supposed to be. And there's a conversation I had with another alum this morning and with my brother Hakeem about being where you're supposed to be. And in the face of your tragedy, that means a lot. Because I'm sitting here, I'm actually doing pretty good, but I'm still like uneasy about where am I at, right? And so to hear you say that gave me this perspective, and I'm just asking personally if you could touch on that refining hope and how you really solidify that I am where I'm supposed to be.
Yes. And I was trapped in those 4 walls in prison, right? And I thought, why me, God? You know, of all people, that I didn't do this. And I couldn't really grasp and understand that at a young age. And then I realized my mother told me that God doesn't make mistakes. And she told me again with the southern charm, boy, don't you ever judge the man upstairs? And I said, yes, ma'am. Because I'm a New Yorker, but I have southern roots. You know what I mean? So going through prison and being there, you have time to reflect on yourself. Reflect on things, and it's a lot of idle time that happens. And I took advantage of that time. Because if you don't, an idle mind is the devil's backyard. And I didn't want to lounge in that area. So I learned how to, over the years, realize that God loves me. And he put me in this position to change the world, to change things. I had to learn that over the years. It wasn't something I just really learned that fast. But I got reacquainted with the Bible.
Okay.
I got reacquainted in prison and spoke to people, and I realized that I have a voice at such a young age, but I couldn't find it at the time because I was so much of an introvert before. Now I'm here speaking. So over the years, I learned how to find that again and become reacquainted with the Lord and ask him for my forgiveness for even doubting him in the first place. You know, because, you know, we were children of God, so it felt good to be reacquainted with the Lord and allow me to reintroduce myself to him.
Wow.
So that was a blessing.
Amen.
Thank you.
for that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Alana. I'm a student at Wrongful University, which is just down the road.
Yes.
And I grew up with a black father, and I really want to know how what happened to you shapes how you raise your girls and how you lead your family.
Yeah. What happened to the way I shaped, you know, I became, and my wife could attest to this, that, well, I'm more of the soft parent now, but no, because I'm a girl dad, and they have me wrapped up in, you know, in their little, you know. But for my oldest daughter, which is 17 years old, I had these conversations with her about how life is unfair, and unfortunately that she had 2 strikes against her because she was a woman of color, and not only that, she was half black and half Spanish. And people already had that stacked against you, but what are you going to do to change that? And I think my teaching sometimes can be hard to my daughter because I'm just afraid sometimes that when she walks out that door, I won't see her again. Because when I was 14, I walked out that door and I didn't come back until 7 years later. You know, so those things that I teach my daughters and my parenting is, I'm real, I'm authentic to them, and I tell them what it is. And even my 8-year-old, which is so smart, and not just because she's my daughter, but she's very smart at her age and she understands everything. Unfortunately, she knows what happens to me, and she wants to see a change already at 8 years old. And she told me, Daddy, if it's not a woman to be a president by the time, I will be. You know what I mean?
circumstances behind how you were exonerated? What sort of evidence came about and how that process unfolded?
So, did you see When They See Us on Netflix?
No, I haven't, so I guess I'm going for this.
I hope on the weekend if you have time. I know you're busy, but so with that being said, not to give you too much, but it was the real assailant that actually did the crime, Tejas Reyes. He seen Corey Wise, which was one of the Central Park Five in prison. He came up to him and said, he asked Corey, do you believe in God? And Corey said, we here, what are you talking about? You know, and he said, do you believe in God, Corey? And he kept saying that. Come to find out that he was in the same prison as Corey, and he told the higher ups and people that was in the prison that he committed a crime for someone that's here. They didn't believe him. So they hired a private investigator in the prison. He spoke to the chapel, confessed. They went to private investigators. They still didn't believe him because they already had in the bag that we was convicted and already thrown away in jail. He said, if you don't believe me, check my DNA. And they did that, and they found out that it was his hairs and his blood that matched hers, and he knew certain things that nobody knew. For instance, this is the 80s, so she had a Walkman. A Walkman is something that you have. It's a long story, but so you had a Walkman, and when I speak, I bring light to it too, because it's so deep. So I kind of learned how to bring lightness into what I say. But long story short, they found out that he knew everything about her, and that he had her house keys, because after he assaulted her and left her for dead, he went to a house to rob her house. So although that they found out that he was the one that did it, we found attorneys. We had our own private investigation team that went to question him in prison, and then the rest is history. Things went on, and they found out that it was him that did it. We filed a civil lawsuit in 2002. It took 12 years to win the lawsuit. In 2014, that's when we became exonerated. But if they left it up to them, they was hoping that all of us would either forget about it or pass away or things of that nature. But we had people that was protesting for us in the streets and things of that nature. So that's how the exoneration came out. And at the time, we had a person named Mike Bloomberg in New York. And he fought the case and kept fighting, and we actually won it after 12 years. And I was blessed that not everyone was still alive to see it. You know, we all lost family members because of that. That's a short story, about how the exoneration happened.
Thank you. So, in day-to-day life, how can we advocate for criminal justice reform to, try and ensure that people get a fair shake in the criminal justice system, and whether convicted or found innocent, are treated humanely in that system? That seems to be a more pressing question as time goes on, particularly in our current society.
Yeah. So how do we
go about advocating for that in a day-to-day level?
Yeah, like I mentioned, everyone doesn't have the means to advocate for that, but just showing your support, and what's wrong is wrong, despite your political feelings or the color of your skin or the way you believe on things, whether you're to the left or to the right. It doesn't matter. It's about just being a human and being respectful of people and holding people accountability. So I think, especially for people that's in school, you have so much research these days and things to find out about things. We didn't have that before. And now we deal in the world that's streaming and social media. It sometimes can be good and sometimes can be bad. But if you lose that, to your best ability, it will work out. So I think leaving here today, if you go to someone that actually been through something like that, have a conversation with them. Know how it feels from their shoes. and try to understand it. And if you don't, it's okay, but at least you start the conversation. Then maybe we can move further and come together collectively. Oh, God,
We're gonna go back to you. Go ahead.
Carlos, you want to go first? I'm Desiree Nicholson, Dean of Culture and Community. Nice to see you again. Thank you on behalf of Hampden-Sydney College for sharing your story with us. I think that we exist in a bubble sometimes back here of privilege and of honor to be able to have an education. I think Ryan has shared with you a little bit about the work that we do with the local kids in the community.
Yes.
And your story is very similar to their story. I hear a lot of the pain in your voice and their voice, right? Even though their circumstances are different, they're imprisoned by a different type of system.
Yeah.
What would you say was the most influential person or people in the prison system that helped you get through those years? We all need somebody. So at 14, I imagine you still needed somebody to help craft you into the man. You needed somebody to be the iron that sharpened the iron. So could you talk about people who were in the prison who help you grow into the man that you are? That's
a great question. The year was 1992. It was an individual named Buddy Wright. I remember him. He was a staff at the time I was there. And my mother and my father separated when I was 9 years old, so I really didn't have that father figure in my life, per se. He stepped in that role when I was in prison, and he taught us about discipline. And not discipline about when you're doing something wrong, discipline. He taught us how to make our beds. He taught us how to exercise and eat right. He taught us to be respectful, and I remember that to this day, that despite everything that happened to us, whether you were guilty or not in that situation, that you were a person, you're young. And I remember I ran into him years later in Long Island, New York. And when I seen him, I'm a grown man. I was like, buddy! And I ran and I held him like that 14-year-old kid I was before. And I told him, thank you. He told, I'm proud of you, Kevin, I'm proud of you. And I told him, thank you for being there for me when a lot of people wasn't. Thank you for being there and standing for me. So that was just one person that stood out right away. It was people in my community. A person named Malambe Baraf, which he was fighting for rights back in Africa, Panama, the U.S. He was one of the first people that said, these kids didn't do this. I know them personally, and things like that. So there were so many people that covered me, that sheltered me, that surrounded me with love, because there was so much hate in the outside bubble. But in my own bubble, it was the love that these people did for me. Yeah.
Go ahead, Carlos.
That was part of my question, was who taught you to be a man, considering that you was in jail for so long? Who taught you how to become the man you are today, and who was your inspiration behind that? That was one question. Okay. The other question is, the justice system failed you that day, but they also failed that woman who got assaulted. Has there been any contact, or have you spoken with her, anybody else spoke with her in the years this past?
That's a great question. When I often tell people, there were 6 victims in this. The 5 of us and this woman, which was raped and attacked. She lost 80% of her blood. And we felt so sorry for her because we had compassion. Because it wasn't us. So when we went in court, by the way, when she testified, she had a coma, When she came to testify in court, we were hoping and praying that she remembers. Because she would have said, these wasn't the kids that did it. It was one person that did this. And they're not here. But because she couldn't gain consciousness too much, it made her feel even worse in the courtroom, because they seen how crippled she was and how that she was so battered and bruised. And the way they looked at us even worse. And so that was one thing that was tough.
Another question. My son plays the sax. Besides you loving your family and your 2 daughters and the passion you have about the Dallas Cowboys that we spoke of yesterday.
Oh, please. I like how you threw that in there.
He likes the trumpet as well.
Ah.
That was your dream. So, have another trumpet player just as you.
Oh, man.
And a cowboy.
We had a little dialect. For the record, I'm from New York, but I'm not a Giants fan, actually. I'm a 49ers fan. And it's a long history, we'll talk more, but Jerry Rice is my favorite player. I met Jerry Rice. My wife did it for a birthday gift for me, flew me out to San Francisco. Chilled with Jerry Rice. His wife watched the series. That was another moment like, Kevin. I was like, oh my God, Jerry Rice. You know, things like that. So. Yeah, okay, let's get back to it.
Go ahead.
What was your experience in prison?
My experience in prison. When I first got there, I was afraid for my life. Even though I had to adjust to that, so I had to have a growl and look strong, but inside I was a kid. But I was afraid because I had to go to a place where they don't like people that do stuff to women. And we were labeled as that. It wasn't true, but people thought we did stuff to a lady. So initially, when I first went there, it was tough, trying to adjust to that, but then I learned that I didn't let jail do me. I did the sentence mentally. I was there physically, but not mentally, and I got my college degree there. I studied a lot. I read books and things like that. So it didn't make me. It didn't break me. It made me. You know, it made me who I am today. But it was rough for years because I was there 7 years of my life. So I went there at 16 and I came out, I was 23 years old. You know, so I had others that was in prison with me that wasn't successful in coming out. But I was just grateful that I did. You know, so jail, I don't recommend it for anyone. And I know, you know, sometimes kids have this perception that when you go to a prison, it's a badge of honor like you're there. It's not something you should be doing. And you shouldn't be there in the first place. Now, sometimes kids are put in a situation, sometimes for their upbringing where they had no other way to make money or support their family. Things happen. People make mistakes, but that's not a place to be. So I'm glad I'm here in front of you speaking, because at the beginning I thought I wouldn't even make it, but I did.
Go ahead.
Your oldest daughter is 17. Can you describe what it's like raising a child going through an age that's been stolen from you?
That's great. I look at her, right? I see a reflection of myself, and I couldn't even fathom her being taken away at that age. And so I was so naive, but I was 14. I was so vulnerable and gullible and things like that. I couldn't picture it. So when I see her sometimes, like I said, I mentioned earlier that sometimes I might be too overprotective. Like the kids say in these days, you're extra. I am, because I know what I've been through, and I don't want to see that happen to her. So sometimes I could be a little overbearing, but it's just a daddy's love and daddy's protection. So when I look at her, I teach her about life, and I have real conversations with her. My wife and I, we speak about how she's not ready for society yet at 17. So we're still going that to today because, you know, she's a nice young lady, and she doesn't like the environments that she's in where people are negative. But we just want her to be strong, not just for herself, but for her surroundings. Because sometimes you have to be a little bit of street smart as well. And we just want her to have that.
So I know that you are obviously a Christian and man of God. What was a scripture that took you through that path as you were going through prison and throughout this tragedy?
One of my most famous is actually a prayer, and I tell my daughter every day, it's the Lord's Prayer. And my mother, since I was a child, she always told it to me every day, and I remember that. And I say it to my daughter to this day. And I tell her, Our Father, and things like that, and it's a blessing, like a pastor. And that's just one that stands out right away that I really abide by. And I'm really grateful that, that I'm here. And I mean, to be, not too deep, but God's only son has sacrificed his life for us, you know what I mean? And I felt like what I've been through, we sacrificed our lives for the greater good for you all, to raise that foundation, to spread the word to others, so that's why I mentioned before, we became the sacrificial lambs for others. We became the scapegoats, but out of that, look what's happened now. God is working. All people always talk to me and say, you're doing great things. I said, this is God's path. I'm walking this path, and I'm just a vessel of what he's doing, so I don't really take that for lightly,
Say,
So I'm Saint Louis III, assistant athletic director here. First of all, thank you for coming. I enjoyed it. Got two questions for you.
Okay.
So my first one is, about forgiveness. I know that situation that you went through was definitely hard and probably still hard to, forgive the people that harmed you, that, that did you wrong, everything like that. But what advice, would you give on forgiving people that done you wrong and, of course you forgive and forget. What about you about forgiveness?
Forgiveness is something you really have to believe in your heart. It's hard. It really is. And it's something that I myself balance out back and forth. I fought that for a long time, but you have to let it go. Especially if you have an argument with someone, or you have a disagreement, or someone that did something harm to you for years. There's different people, things happen to people where, for instance, a family was in a car accident and the person crashed into them. Their loved one is gone. But you'll hear the family members say, I forgive that person. That's hard to say, that's tough to say. And it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Trust me, I understand, I know. It's people to this day that I will never forget. It's a very important person that you all know that I will never forget. But even I had to move on from that. And I couldn't stay in that space. You know what I mean? 'Cause like I said, that will eat you up. That will eat you up alive, man. So you have to find some way to release that energy into a positive. For instance, the athletic department. A great way is, playing sports and getting that energy out yourself. So we have to find ways that we could, let that energy out, whether it's reading, or music, or speaking, art, or anything like that. But it's very necessary, and I believe we should dive into that. Second part, right?
Yeah, my second question, honestly, is just what advice would you give our young black men in this room when it comes to dealing with law enforcement?
Great. Some of you were at my workshop, and we laid down some few things, but I'll be back whenever you're ready for me. Okay? Just to know your rights. Not all of us know our rights, even adults. And we all need to know our Miranda rights and even have a card on your person to know about your rights, what you should do and shouldn't do. And I know sometimes things happen where something could happen and turn the situation really fast. It could be a police officer one day, law enforcement, that is having a bad day. And the first person to see of color, he's going to go after them. And by the way, you could be the most prestigious person. You could, be a professor, but you still look like this. Despite your accomplishments and everything like that, you could get pulled over, and now you're just a black male in front of a police officer. So stay diligent. You're all smart. Use your tool, which is your mind. That they can't take away from you. Don't be confrontational. I know it's hard because you say, what are you pulling me over for? You know, I know my rights, a legal search, things like that. But try. And sometimes in life, trying, sometimes it can be a failure. But strive to get past that, you know. So it's definitely a slippery slope to all the young men of color that's here. But just remember that this too shall pass, that you can get from that. But it's hard, and trust me, no one said it's going to be easy. And unfortunately, we have that strike against us in society, that they look at us a certain way. But they don't know that we have just as much, if not even more. And to get even deeper, everyone, we create a lot of things on earth, in America, because of us. So we should show that same respect. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's me. I'm sorry. I was super excited to come here, so I gotta get my questions out. So I know you said in my question about like how you raise your daughters, and I really relate to your daughters a lot because I'm biracial. I'm black and white, and you know, you're not white enough, you're not black enough. So I want to know, how do you navigate the like deep-rooted racism in the United States, and how, like, what would you say, like, how would you tell someone like me or our younger generations how to deal with that and how to cope with that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, racism never went anywhere. It's just closet racists. People that's, you know, show their true colors. It's hard to navigate that, but we have to. And there's people that will look at you and they might just be jealous because you're beautiful, inside and out, and because you have a gift. And you have the best of both worlds, that two people from two different walks of life that love you. And some people don't have that. So we're dealing with a time where racism is so blatant now. Like, people don't care now. They're doing things as shooting people in churches, hurting the elderly, calling people names in person that they wouldn't do that before. So stay strong. And I know it's hard, but really stay strong in who you are. I'm like, yes, I'm black and white. And what? Yes, I've been blessed to be like that, you know. But for you personally, anyone that messes with you, just know that you're bigger than that. And just use your mind. Because sometimes they might want you to use your aggression, and that could go somewhere else. So just stay diligent in what you do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You're so inspiring to me, and I know so many other people.
Thank you so much.
Truly, thank you.
I'm looking at you, I'm looking at my daughter right now. Yeah.
Next up. Yeah.
So yes, being a licensed professional counselor, currently works as a mental health professional with sexually violent predators, court ordered, SVPs. What was your experience, the pros and cons of the treatment that you were, forced to attend regarding something that you know?
Yeah. You know, like I mentioned before, I was a level 3 sex offender. Well, I never was that, but that's what they put on me. And I remember like going every week to parole, and I had to say that Kevin Richardson, and we had to attend classes for sex offenders. And I denied every class. I had to be there because if not, I would violate my parole. So you know how it feels to be in a place where after you come out of prison, you still have to attend that. And I was there with serial, saying some horrific things. And actually myself and Yusuf Salam was in the same class. And to add insult to injury, we had to pay for the class ourselves. Now the thing that they do where you just come out of prison And sometimes you don't have a job yet. So that's a trick to get you back into prison, because the recidivism rate is very high going back to prison. So there were so many things we had to deal with. And it felt good that one time, and when they see us, episode 3, I won't say too much, something happened like that. When me and Yusuf stood up and we said, we're leaving this class, we don't belong here. And we felt vindicated from that. But it was hard to go through that and talk to people and say that, yes, I am Kevin Richardson. Yes, I am part of the Central Park 5, and I had to attend this class because the world thought I was a sexual predator. So it's something that we still deal with, you know, and see other people still dealing with that.
So I actually watched the movie.
Okay.
And I can't imagine your experience because it's an extremely hard movie. It's extremely emotional. I think anybody can agree if you've seen it. It's extremely emotional. But I think one of the things that stood out to me the most that made me the angriest were the officers and the treatment that you all received because of the officers. And my question is, I know you shared that there's still some apologies you didn't give or maybe some accountability that wasn't there. But I'm just wondering if any of the officers at all, if they had a conversation with you all afterwards, any accountability, apologize at all? Was it any type of police reform, any type of anything that occurred with those specific individuals?
No. No apologies whatsoever. But some police officers that was present at the time, karma happened to them. Some police officers was arrested for other things. One of the officers was doing an illegal drug bust in Miami. So that was a vindication for us. But there was no one that actually said, I'm sorry for doing that to you. Instead, they stuck with the story. And when people are liars, you become so invested in the lie that you begin to believe your own lie. Those are called habitual liars. When you do this situation, so it became pathetic. I mean, even just a few years ago, when They See Us came out, oh, this is a bunch of crap. What is it? And things like that. So we didn't do anything and things like that. We know that was a lie. And one thing I felt vindicated when we had, we had some, we was in court and testifying against the police officers later on in life. And they had to sit in front of us. And I remember telling them, looking them in their eyes and said, I hope you sleep good that night, knowing what you did. And I said, look at me. They wouldn't look at me because they know what they did. So that was vindication to know that I'm still here. And we're still going to be here.
My name is Malcolm. I'm a student at University. With everything you talked about and how you turned the pain and the hardship that you went through into purpose, and with all the motivational speaking that you do and all the places that you travel, has there been a certain moment or something that happened where you kind of saw the fruits of your labor, or something happened, or if there was a policy that was passed on criminal justice reform? Is there a moment or moments that stand out to you was like, wow, what I'm doing is making a difference?
One that stands out to me that myself and two of my brothers, we're fighting, it's partially done, that when kids be interrogated, it's videotaping. And that's something that we're looking for to be passed in Albany, New York, that once a kid is coerced into a confession, there should be some type of videotape statement, because with us, there weren't any. So you didn't see from the gap that happened, that we was questioned over 36 hours. What happened in between that? Because you seen the beginning of giving a statement, then you seen the finished package at the end, with us writing down our signature of what happened in the middle. So I feel proud that we are going for that and fighting in Albany for that. Another thing that stands out, receiving love from people from all walks of life. When I step out, when I go places, You know, I was in Jamaica and I seen someone and they was like, oh, hi, can I get an autograph? And things like that. And I would stop there and talk to them. Or for when a kid come up to me and do portraits of me and things like that. Or curriculums in class about the Central Park Five and how we must change that. That's vindication for me that I feel like I am changing things, and I'm glad that I'm here to do it.
Thank you so much for sharing. Like, this has just been an incredible experience, and the fact that you continue to do this is just truly an inspiration. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm inspired by you all. It gives me the motivation to keep doing what I'm doing. It's a beautiful thing because, like I said, each one teach one, and we absorb from each other. So I'm equally inspired because, you know, I feel like I still have room to grow. I still have things that I want to do. So when I hear someone speak like that, that gives me, you know, more drive to keep doing what I'm doing. What did I do in prison? Well, you know what I did in prison? I changed how they thought I would be in prison. Meaning that I went to school in prison. I got my college degree in prison. I became a person that spoke to a lot of people in the prison, which I was called a model, well, you know, a model, but a good inmate, a good person in prison that talked to people. But it wasn't easy, my brother, but I had to make the best out of it, you know, and I learned how to become an adult there. You know, I learned how to read books there because I was a young kid when I got there, you know, and I became better what I did. I always played basketball. I became even better, you know. Played football, you know. We had scouts. You don't know what scouts is, but like people that used to come watch us in prison, Division I schools, but I wasn't eligible because when I came out, I was 23 years old. So I was ineligible on the sports level, not academically, but in sports. Because one of my goals was to play in Syracuse, because I looked up to a lot of people in that time. And now I became friends with them, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I have one question. Maybe I missed this, but did you ever get back to playing the trumpet?
I did from time to time, but my daughter is pushing me to do it more. Yeah, my daughter, she plays the trumpet. I mean, she plays the drums, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And she does percussion. She's a percussionist as well.
That's awesome.
So she rocks on the drums and stuff. So she motivated me to do it. Not to my wife's liking,
Right.
because I have a man cave, and so I got the trumpet, she has the drums, and we want to make
That's a
some
tough
noise.
house.
Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for you, man.
Yeah.
I
So,
would love to see that. I personally would like to see that.
yeah, thank you, man.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Yes, sir.
Last question.
Ooh, last question.
I'll get to my son.
Gotcha.
Ah.
How did you feel you were facing somebody else's charge that you were falsely accused of?
That's a good question to end with. Yeah. I felt, why? Why is me? Why isn't that person? You know, why did this happen of all the people in the world? And all the people that night, it was only the 5 of us that got picked for that. And then it didn't take till I got older. After I went through it, I said, why not me? And that was hard because now when I'm saying y'all I will take away the prison sentence. But I'm saying after that, why not me to be the voice for the people? And sometimes people go through things where they have to go through tough times to come out, you know, a better person. So, but when I looked at the person that actually did it, I was upset. Because all those years that I could have, you know, got back at home, like I wanted to go to the prom. I had a crush on a girl. I shouldn't say that to you, but you know, I had a crush on a girl. You know, my wife knows this. I tell her about it all the time. Her name was Danielle, you know, things like that. And
Is that ends with that?
well, you know, now we're friends, so this is fine. But it was tough. To put it all in a nutshell, it was tough to see that I was there for someone else. And I did all those years for nothing. I'm just happy that I'm here today to be living to speak to you all, because it could have been something different. I could have lost my life before in prison. And I'm glad I'm here, especially speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.